live in interesting times. Today's stories. The World Health Organization says the DRC must unite in Ebola fight amid high risk of spread. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sylvester Ilunga named Prime Minister. Britain's Hunt warns Iran to not underestimate U.S. resolve. Iranians react to U.S. President's threats. In France, the Eiffel Tower has been evacuated after a climber has been spotted on the monument. A thick smog envelops Mexico City. Traumatized by conflict, animals find haven in Jordan. Morehouse students react to a billionaire's offer to pay off their student loans. Plus, the Los Angeles Festival of Books takes young readers on a journey. Hello everyone, I am Jennifer Polentan, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. The World Health Organization chief on Monday urged different political factions in the Democratic Republic of Congo to unite in the battle against Ebola, warning that the risk of spread remains very high. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told the opening of the organization's annual assembly in Geneva, Ebola does not take sides. It is the enemy of everybody.
I have also met personally with His Excellency the President of DRC and opposition leaders to urge a bipartisan approach to ending this outbreak, because Ebola does not take sides. It's the enemy of everybody.
Nearly 1,200 people have died since last August, when the DRC declared a 10th outbreak of Ebola in the country in 40 years. Efforts to roll back the outbreak have been hampered by fighting in the affected regions and attacks on medical teams, as well as locals who view the international effort at prevention with suspicion. Tedros says he has met with the DRC's president and with opposition leaders to urge a bipartisan approach to ending this outbreak.
Unless we unite to end this outbreak, we run the very risk that it will become more widespread and more expensive and more aggressive.
The WHO chief hailed that efforts to rein in the virus, including the vaccination of more than 120,000 people, have so far succeeded in limiting the outbreak to the conflict-racked North Kivu province and neighboring Ituri region of the DRC.
So far, the outbreak has not spread outside two provinces in DRC. But I emphasize, so far, the risk of spread remains very high.
Tedros described the outbreak as one of the most complex health emergencies any of us have ever faced, pointing, for instance, to the dozens of attacks on health facilities in North Kivu since the start of the year. He said, quote, "We are not just fighting a virus, we're fighting insecurity, we're fighting violence, we're fighting misinformation, and we're fighting the politicization of an outbreak. Every attack gives the virus an advantage," unquote. The current outbreak is the second deadliest on record, after an epidemic that killed more than 11,300 people in West Africa in 2014 and 2016. During his address, Tedros stated that Ebola is not the only health crisis facing the global health community, listing recent major cholera outbreaks in Yemen, diphtheria in the Cox's Bazar camps in Bangladesh, and the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Syria, among others. He urged WHO's member states to endorse the organization's ambitious budget, stressing the moral duty to respond urgently and effectively to outbreaks and other emergencies, and urging more spending on preventive measures. Tedros also announced the appointment of 4 new so-called goodwill ambassadors for promoting global health, including Cynthia Germanata, a mental health advocate and the mother of superstar Lady Gaga. Meanwhile, After his nomination as the Democratic Republic of Congo's new prime minister by President Felix Tshisekedi, Sylvester Ilunga says he sees his appointment as a serious duty.
Je considère ma nomination comme une lourde responsabilité en ce moment crucial de l'histoire de notre pays, et je m'engage à mobiliser toutes mes capacités pour pouvoir faire fonctionner de façon harmonieuse la coalition au niveau du gouvernement.
Amid mounting tensions between Washington and Tehran, British Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt warns Iran that they should not underestimate the resolve on the U.S. side, because if American interests are attacked, they will retaliate.
I would say to the Iranians, do not underestimate the resolve on the US side in this situation. They are not seeking a conflict, they don't want a war with Iran, but if American interests are attacked, they will retaliate, and that is something that the Iranians need to think about very, very carefully. Of course, we're very concerned. I think the US is concerned as well, and I've had a lot of discussions with Secretary Pompeo about the situation in Iran, and we want the situation to de-escalate because this is a part of the world where things can get triggered accidentally. But the long-term solution to this problem is for Iran to pull back from the destabilizing activities it does throughout the region, which are causing everyone so much worry. But we have to see what happens, and there'll be a time to discuss all those decisions that people make, but right now the focus that people want from me and from everyone else in the Conservative Party is to get on and deliver Brexit. I would never advocate a no-deal Brexit. I think it would be immensely disruptive economically, and the truth is no one quite knows what would happen in that scenario. But I think in a negotiation you can't take these options off the table.
Iranians react to U.S. President Donald Trump's warning to Iran the previous day, during which he suggested in a tweet that if Iran attacks U.S. interests, it will be destroyed. Tensions between Washington and Tehran have been on the rise as the United States has deployed a carrier group and B-52 bombers to the Gulf over what it termed Iranian threats.
نه نمیشه چون نمیتونه چون اگر میتونه تا الان این کارو میکرد پس اینکه تهدید کنه من میام بیا آدم اگه بخواد یه کاری انجام بده باید عملی انجام بده دیگه بیا ببینیم چه جوریه چند مرد علاجی
به نظر من با این وضعی که من دارم میبینم با این تجهیزاتی که امریکا آورده توی خلیج فارس با توجه به این همه گستردگی تجهیزات فکر میکنم به هر حال میخواد نتیجه بگیره یعنی حالا نتیجهش ممکنه یه سر قضیه جنگ باشه یه سر قضیهش هم حالا خود کشور ما مجبور بشه بشینه پای میز مذاکره من خودم به شخصه فکر میکنم که بالا با توجه به اینکه ما خودمونم توی این قضیه کوتاه نخواهیم اومد یعنی نه مذاکره میکنیم نه به قول معروف جنگ خواهیم کرد اون مجبور میشه که به سمت سوی حالا جنگ سوق پیدا کنه
من طرفین فکر میکنیم که اینقدر بی‌عقل هستن که بخوان درگیری ایجاد بکنن و ما به هر حال در مقابل حقوق حقه خودمون هم نمیتونیم کوتاه بیاییم در مقابل عزت و حکمت و مصلحت خودمون هم نمیتونیم طبیعتاً تهران هم قصد جنگ نداره و بعضی از عواملی که در منطقه هستن ظاهراً تحریک میکنن.
Coming up, in France, the Eiffel Tower has been evacuated after a climber has been spotted on the monument. A thick smog envelops Mexico City. Traumatized by conflict, animals find haven in Jordan. Morehouse students react to a billionaire's offer to pay off their student loans. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. The company that operates the structure said the Eiffel Tower was evacuated on Monday afternoon after a man was spotted climbing up the Paris landmark. An official with the SETE operator said, "A climber has been spotted. It's the standard procedure." They had to stop the person and, in that case, evacuate the tower, adding that police were on the scene. The esplanade underneath the monument was also evacuated. A police source said police have made contact with the climber, but do not yet know why he began his ascent via the iron beams. The tower is regularly the target of rogue free climbers, hoping to scale one of the world's most famous structures, often for bragging rights. But police have also been called in several times in recent years to try to thwart suicide attempts. In 2017 of October, a young man ventured out on one of the beams and threatened to jump before police were able to convince him to come back. In 2012, a British man managed to climb to the very top of the 324-meter-high tower before plunging to his death. Nearly 7 million people a year visit the 324-meter-high structure, which last week celebrated its 130th anniversary. The first 2 floors can be reached by either elevator or stairs, but only elevators whisk people to the top observation deck. That didn't stop the French urban free climber Alain Robert from making it one of his first targets in his campaign to scale the world's biggest buildings with no technical climbing gear. He got to the top, not including the antenna, in the mid-1990s. People wear face masks in Mexico City as a thick layer of smog enveloping the Mexico capital resulted in an air pollution alert, urging people to stay indoors and canceling school lessons.
Entonces creo que es un poquito más seguro traer el cubrebocas, aunque las noticias dijeron que no era tan... que o sea, ya no podías hacer nada con la contaminación a menos que tu cubrebocas tuviera filtro.
Sí es preocupante porque uno no se siente como libre de salir y caminar simplemente, ¿no? Y menos ahora pues hacer actividad física.
Dozens of animals that have been rescued from the regional war zones, including Israeli blockade Gaza Strip, are cared for at Jordan's Al Mawa for Nature and Wildlife Reserve in Jerash.
We are trying to give better life to animals which suffers in different ways. They are from war zones, they are from smuggling, illegal trade, from poor quality zoos. We have animals from Syria, from Iraq, from zoos in Palestine. Some of them reacting very dramatically on the noises, on the helicopters. We don't bother them. This is the most important thing. They have no crowds of people. They are in pure nature.
تواجهنا في شكل عام مع الحيوانات اللي كانت تجينا في البداية أغلبها مشاكل صحية وسوء تغذية، لأن الحيوانات ما كانت تلاقي عناية كافية، ما كانت تلاقي تغذية كافية في المناطق اللي كانت موجودة فيها بسبب الحروب القائمة في البلدان اللي كانت فيها. التعامل مع الحيوان والحيوانات كلها بشكل عام قدرنا نحسن سلوكها، نهديها، نخليها تتقبلنا وتتقبل الناس بشكل أفضل، بالإضافة إلى أنها تعيش بشكل طبيعي أقرب لحياتها في البرية.
Sunday was already a day of joy and pride for the graduating class at historically black Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and then it got even better. Robert F. Smith, an African-American businessman with a fortune estimated at $4.4 billion, told the new graduating class that he plans to pay off the entirety of their student debt, an estimated $40 million. Of course, Smith received a thunderous round of applause from the 400 graduates and from their parents. According to the college's Twitter account, Smith told the assemblage, quote, "My family is going to create a grant to eliminate your student loans," unquote. Smith, who was at the ceremony to receive an honorary degree, said, "This is my class. I know my class will pay this forward and help improve the lives of other Black Americans." Smith had earlier this year announced a $1.5 million donation to the school, but Sunday's news came as a surprise even to the staff at Morehouse, according to the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. A spokesman said it was the biggest gift in the history of the school, whose graduates include civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., filmmaker Spike Lee, and actor Samuel L. Jackson.
The meaning for this is huge. I was coming out with a few $1,000s of debts and loans, and so for him to do this is incredible. I'm going to graduate school at Brown University this fall and was having to budget a graduate student income to pay back loans, and so for Mr. Smith to do this for us was really, really incredible. His words really resonated with all of us. I mean, he really talked to us about what it looks like to move forward as black men in the United States and moving within our purpose and moving with the legacy that Morehouse has given us in the academic training. So we were really inspired by his words today, even though I didn't get to speak to him. Social mobility is really limited for African Americans for a variety of reasons, a lot of which are, the results of slavery, unfair housing, unequal education, a myriad of different factors that have really led to the social circumstances that people are dealing with today. And so that, in combination with Mr. Smith and a lot of students I know who are coming from some of these similar backgrounds, disadvantaged backgrounds, and all over, for him to do this for us today is really making an impact on some of those families and people in those environments.
Morehouse is a pretty prestigious institution, and the tuition is pretty high. So my student debt was over $100K. So this gift, honestly, just was the best thing that could ever happen to me, because I have a single mother, and we really didn't know how we were going to be able to repay these loans. So definitely, it was the most amazing thing that could happen to me. I couldn't believe it. It was after Mr. Smith spoke, and President Thomas came up and he said that we would be graduating debt-free. That's when it really sunk in. Like, we are going to be graduating debt-free. I was just so happy. I was so happy. It's honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me so far, honestly. I felt so many emotions today. I was already excited about graduating, very emotional, and then this happened. And I feel like honestly, everybody keeps asking me how do I feel, and I keep telling them I feel like I'm on top of the world. I really do. Like, this has been the best day of my life. It's been just nonstop blessings the entire day.
Smith, a graduate of Cornell and Columbia Universities, founded Vista Equity Partners in 2000, and by 2015 had become the richest African American, according to Forbes magazine, with a fortune surpassing even that of billionaire celebrity and fellow Morehouse donor Oprah Winfrey. In recent years, the soaring cost of college education and the number of rising defaults have made student debt a growing national issue, addressed by many of the Democrats seeking their party's presidential nomination. According to the Fitch Ratings agency, total student debt now exceeds $1.5 trillion. So at least at Morehouse, Robert Smith had folks breathing a sigh of relief on Sunday. Charles Relaford Jr., the father of one newly minted graduate and of the second son in Morehouse's class of 2020, has a fervent wish for Smith. He said, quote, "Maybe he'll come back next year," unquote. When we come back, the Los Angeles Festival of Books takes young readers on a journey. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C., and I am Jennifer Polentan. For another arts and culture story, here's Ariane Andrade.
Hi everybody, I am Ariane Andrade. Thank you for joining me for today's Junior News. Dr. Seuss said, reading can take you places you have never been before. If you read tons and tons of books, imagine how many places you can reach without having to leave your reading chair. It's like teleporting. Today, our Eagle News Junior correspondents, Seth, Eliana, and Gabby, will take us to the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books, where we will get to know bookworms and bibliophiles. Big words, huh? Not for these folks. Take a look.
Are you a bookworm? Or maybe a bibliophile? What's a bibliophile? If you love books, or just love spending the day out with the family, then the LA Times Festival of Books is where you'll find 150,000 people soaking up the sun, enjoying literature, and having fun. So what's a bibliophile? I don't know. What's a bookworm? There are so many books, it was like a wonderland for everyone. Children had the opportunity to take photos with their favorite costume characters. Why did you come here today?
To buy some books and have fun. I wanted to get a book so the author could sign my book.
Do you love reading books?
Yes,
Why do you love reading them?
because it's fun. I like to read the book because I want to read the house.
Scouring the campus, not only did we find a bunch of bookworms, but we also found a very hungry caterpillar. Families took photos with the beloved character come to life. They even found his very cool car. Why are you here today? Because I like books and this is really fun. Do you like reading?
Yes,
Why?
because books are interesting.
Getting to meet their favorite authors and going home with their books autographed by them was a highlight for many enthusiastic readers. Can you tell us about your books?
Yes, Bird and Squirrel is about a neurotic bird or neurotic squirrel who's afraid of everything, and a bird who isn't afraid of everything, and they became friends and they're traveling around the world on crazy adventures.
Well, Dork Diaries, we started writing it in 2009, and it's sold over 43 million copies, and it's in 42 languages all around the world.
Do you ever have writer's block?
I do have writer's block, and it takes, I go running or I go outside and I do a lot of activities to get through it.
Yes, I get writer's block. You just have to keep working really hard to figure out what the issue is so that you can, start writing freely again. So it happens sometimes, but I'm able to always get over it.
Can a kid like me be a writer someday?
Of course you can. You just have to do it and practice it and keep doing it.
All you have to do is just start writing stories now. Even though you're a kid, you can sit down and figure out an exciting story. It can be happy, it can be exciting, it can be kind of scary, and you just have to finish it. That's the hard thing about being a writer. You can always get really good ideas and you start writing, but then you get tired or bored, then you stop writing. So the most important thing is to finish the story and get to the very last page.
How do I become a better illustrator?
You become a better illustrator by practice. You draw pictures that you really like, and if you see an art style that you admire, you try to draw pictures that remind you of that art style, but don't draw too much like it. Try to make it be your own style, and then keep practicing until you become better and better.
Besides books, guests were treated to games, giveaways, music, and visits to the family fun zones. Are you a bibliophile? Well, if you are someone who loves to collect and read books, then you already know the answer. Reporting from Los Angeles, California, I am Gabby Sekulis with Seth Perez and Eliana Sekulis, and we are 1 with 25.
Oh, wish I went with you guys. Thank you, Seth, Eliana, and Gabby. I am Ariane Andrade, 1 with 25.
Thanks, guys. That is today's Eagle News Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at Eaglenews.PH and EagleNewsLive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I am Jennifer Polentan, and I am 1 with 25.